Hello there everyone and welcome to Redhead Rumble, the one place where we talk about everything boxing and MMA related. We look back at the week's events, we'll make some predictions midweek, and then when it comes to the event, we wait till straight after and we pretty much upload a video straight away reviewing what went on, what we think is going to be next for certain fighters, and wherever, we'll see where it takes us. So last night was the last dance for Derek Chisora in Manchester, Co-op Arena, Harper A. If you don't know it, get to know it. That's going to be where a lot of fights are going to be held in over the UK in the next few years. It's a massive arena. Manchester City, the group that run them anyway, they've basically invested a hell of a lot of money in the local area. The last dance, Derek Chisora, Otto Wallin. At first, you look at the fight and you say, it could be a bit of a, a bit of a bore fest, because we all know Derek. He's so exciting, wants to give the fans absolutely everything, trying to get the knockout. And Wallin was a southpaw, big 6'5" southpaw, very hard to hit unless, he sort of staggers into the corner, and we'll get into that later down in the video. But as an overview of the card, I think the rating we'd give it would probably be a safe, maybe 6.5 out of 10. I have to say, there was a lot of late replacements, like we were looking forward to Willie Hutchinson as well. Nathan Heaney, again, fighting against someone just to try and get back onto the ladder of, British level, going back against your Denzel Bentleys and people like that. So, yeah, overall, it was an all right night of boxing. He's going to DAZN, he's leaving TNT. The card last night, 6.5 out of 10. I wish I was there. I couldn't get tickets, unfortunately. So, they got a good 12,000-13,000 there to support our Del Boy. So, without further ado, let's crack on. I have to admit, I didn't really watch much of the early stuff. Again, a bit busy with life, as you do. I was like the fans in the arena because none of them turned up as well. But I did have a look. I managed to have a look at a few highlights this morning. And all I could take from it was Zach Miller, pretty much featherweight contest. Zach's always been a good fighter whenever he's been on a show. You look at the results and he can carry himself. He's great. He's great on the front foot. Applies so much pressure there, left and right. He loves the 1-2 and then the body. He loves it. And it works really effective for him so far. Obviously, he doesn't get many KOs because he was 16-1. However, last night he fought a bloke called Masood Abdullah. Now, Masood Abdullah, he was unbeaten. You could tell Zach was right up for it when he came out, and I have to say he performed really, really well. The pressure, constant pressure, he just wanted it more. And, the exchanges were very few and far between, but as soon as Zach got in tight, he was bustling him up nice and early, get in there. Jab was really, really good. Front foot all through the fight, pressuring. Masood had a few bits and bats himself, but not enough to stop Zach Miller. Zach Miller eventually gets the decision. The majority, might I add, as well. They thought he won it. So did I. So that's a fair result. He takes the Commonwealth belt. You look at what it means to him straight afterwards and you think, thoroughly deserved. He fought with everything he had. And, just the belief that he had in himself was exponential. It was like I knew I was going to step in that ring that night and I was going to take it. I'm going to take what I've got here and I'm going to launch it in your face, and then I'm going to walk away with the strap out the arena onto the next one. Congratulations, Zach Miller. Great performance. And then here's probably what you could class as one of the worst fights on the card. Zach Parker was back. I was really looking forward to seeing Zach, obviously from Derby. Great potential, had a lot of potential earlier on in his career. I was a bit disheartened with Zach's performance because Zach's really good movement. He can switch stance really easily, southpaw to orthodox. Honestly, he flips in between and it makes it really hard for him to hit himself. So, the opponent's always going to struggle. Now, he was supposed to go against Willie Hutchinson. Now, that would have been a great fight for the fans. It was fantastic because Willie Hutchinson is just as good, as Zach Parker. But Zach Parker really should be in your upper echelon, sort of up here now. And, Willie's like on his way up. So it was like one of those meet in the middle. One goes up, one goes down. It's one of those. Anthony R was in attendance. BT Comms kept going towards it, saying that basically this guy should, You know, Zach Parker should be a new opponent for Anthony Yarde. For me personally, Yarde's been against Kovalev. You know, he's fighting Boatse. There's just, Zach Parker's not in that bracket. He needs a massive win against a huge opponent. He needs to be the underdog in a fight to then get that Yarde fight. Unless Yarde wants to warm up, then you might take Parker, but that's not necessarily going to benefit both parties. So Zach Parker, for me, needs a massive win. And, you know, Willie Hutchinson could have just been that. However, there was a late replacement, a French bloke called Diallo. Looked as though, you know, you have come in on last week's notice or whatever, you know. He looked in sort of good nick. He looked in fighting shape, being kind. However, you could tell he was there to really, Zach Parker, now this is your chance. Show Willie Hutchinson, show everyone what they've missed with you. Come on, you've come back from a lengthy injury, you've had a lot of problems. Come back, show us what you've got. Again, just to go for a few of the rounds. The first round was just steady, you know, trying to work Diallo out. It's a late replacement opponent for Zach Parker, so we're trying to see what can do. He was looking for the left hook to the body. That was the main punch I spotted straight away. He was constantly looking for that, try and get this guy's engine depleting straight away. Second, he goes again. That left hook, you know, loads of movement, sort of trying to close the Diallo in. Then he starts holding. And when you're holding in round two, it just takes the energy from the fight, from the fans, from the arena. And on the TV, you're watching it in there and you're thinking, Zach, there's no chance in hell. You're the second round, you're already clasping onto this guy who's been brought in to make you look mint. So the ref had stopped a couple of times, got frustrated. Third round, goes in for the hook straight away. Now, I don't know if he's done something to himself or he's picked up a knock in training, but thought, I've still got to fight, I've still got to get that paycheck, which in fair play, listen, these guys and girls have more nuts, cojones than I will ever have stepping into that ring and putting their body on the line for glory. He was doing a lot of feinting, he was moving an awful lot, and it sort of took away from the good work he was doing with the jab. He could only sort of land one single shot, but he kept feinting and kept dropping, and it looked really good, and he was switching stance, and I thought, if you were against a better boxer, we'd be saying you're brilliant, but you're against this bloke who's literally stood there like this. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily warrant all this great work. You look good, but finish the guy off, pressure him. It just looked like he was pacing himself, and I thought, right, fair play, first 3 rounds. It's a 10-rounder though, so it's not a 12-rounder, but it's a 10-rounder, so you're thinking to yourself, all right, I'll give you the first 3, show me what you've got in the fourth. Now, what I didn't realise was that in the intermission of the round, we looked at the corner of Zach Parker, and he actually had a bit of claret coming out of the sort of the eye, above his eye there, and I thought, please don't open up, because if that opens up, Diallo's got a target, and it literally has Zach Parker's eye. You're thinking, Zach, that eye's only going to get worse. Get away, start doing your jab, start doing your movement. You know, don't let him pressure you. Try and hold a bit at the centre. You know, switch, feint to the left, feint to the right. Stop going backwards and switching stance and then coming back again to jab. It wasn't working. Like, his footwork was immense. Just the switching of stance, making it harder, and he was ducking and diving. And Diallo couldn't hit him, but he's brought in not to be able to hit you. You've got to take him out. That's the whole idea of the situation. But, you know, it has to be said, Diallo he weren't moving. You weren't moving target. Come on, go on, impress us, move on from that. Don't just make it a massive one. Make it a massive one body, boom, whatever, whichever the trainer said anyway. But then this, in a strange way, encouraged Diallo that, listen, I want to scrap with you, mate. So I'm going to come in and engage. And he's starting to throw a lot more. The only punch he seemed to ever land with, though, was the hook. The hook from either side, Parker, I don't know if it was something to do with his eye. He couldn't necessarily see it. So it was all a case of, you know, Diallo stood here like this and just swinging like that and trying to not expose his face too much. Which, again, you know, Frank Warren's paying these people to come into the ring. Zach, you're supposed to be able to deal with this guy. You know, we shouldn't even be talking about a 5th round. And that's me being respectful, you know, because of how good a fighter he actually is. But what annoys me about the boxing, especially on television when you're watching it, is that the comms have just, they came out last night and they were just saying, oh, he's been miles better than this. You know, he's you know, Zach Parker, bloody hell, this is the worst he's ever been. And I thought to myself, stop being so disrespectful. You've never stepped in there. Okay, he's having a bit of an off night. That's all you have to say. You don't have to double down and go, it's the worst performance he's ever had. Because that in itself is ridiculous and hypocritical. They just, honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was gutted for him. I was absolutely gutted for him because they're ripping him apart on TV while he's busting his ass out there trying to win the fight. And I don't know, it really frustrated me that. But it looked like Parker again, he finishes the round. He's moving really, really well. But he's, you know, there's no doubling up. You know, it was just a constant thread of single shots. And again, it wins you the fight, but it doesn't necessarily get us off our seats, let's say. The 6th round, however, Zach Parker straight away, Diallo said, come on then, I'm having you now this round. I can see that eye is bursting from the seams. So he comes out and absolutely swinging at him. And Zach Parker makes, his evasion was next level. It was absolutely fantastic. I could not believe how much he was getting out of the way. It was unbelievable. Some of the angles that Diallo was throwing, even a better professional throwing that punch or a few of those punches, like he kept throwing this left hook and this right jab, and it was like that should hit this person every single time. It's a close quarter right on the corner, and Parker was just switching his feet and moving his head as he moves, and he was getting out of the way. And it was fantastic. It was really, really good. But unless you're a purist, you're not really gonna use that to promote Zach Parker. You're not going to say, oh, that's the reason I love this fighter. But he was digging in hard, Zach Parker. You have to give it him. Again, he's looking tired now because a lot of the movement, he's not following up with punches. And Parker, he's starting to look a bit tired because, let's have it right, his footwork was that fast that his top half couldn't follow on quick enough. He was doing really well, you know, feinting out the way, slipping shots. But as he was coming straight through, his legs were just like sort of, he was having to plant a couple of times, and I thought, oh, no, don't gas, please do not gas. But it comes into it again, you know, the 7th round, just looking at my notes, Parker's pulled about the eye. So, you know, you've got to give him his due because he's got an absolute massive set. It was like we're out of his face. There was no orbital break, I don't think. I haven't checked actually. There's no orbital break, but it was a deep cut. It looked pretty savage, to be honest. It was all from a clash of heads in the 2nd round. But looking, you know, Diallo's starting to be a bit more successful landing on Zach Parker. And I did think to myself, don't be taking too many more of these, mate, because honestly, you don't know where this fight's going. And remember, we've only got 3 more rounds, so let's just wait and see. Again, same sort of thing happening in the 7th, and then the 8th comes in. Great right hook, straight away from Parker on Diallo. Massive right, and it lands, and then all of a sudden he's like, right, this is it. This is my chance. Let's show him what I've got. And he's beating him up left, right, and centre, trying to get to Diallo. When you look at the replay, so Diallo's guard was like this. It was so simple. It was like the old 1930s days. It was like that. And every shot kept catching him on the gloves. So, and he only got like hit there, like say on the bit on the cheek. So it was never truly hitting him. So the effect, it wasn't necessarily there. But having said that, Diallo did really well taking that shot. It was fantastic, to be honest. And what happened after, obviously, the splurge of energy that Zach Parker's then given to try and get through the match with the onslaught, he keeps falling down, keeps falling to his knees. No knockdown, no nothing like that, but just both hands on the canvas, on his knees, and he just looked knackered. He looked like something has gone on in camp as he had the flu. What's happened in these last 2 weeks since Hutchinson pulled out? Because, is the motivation there for the fight? You're kind of thinking to yourself, Zach Parker's a professional. You know, he knows what he's doing. So it was a bit like I'm not sure. I'll let you make your mind up on that fight if you watched it. What do you think of Zach Parker? Because at this point, I'm sort of thinking to myself, he's a really good fighter, but he's 30 years of age. Light heavyweight division is moving on without him, and he needs a really big win to get into the Buatsis, you know, to get into the yards. Oh God, Dan Aziz from Sky, you know, that could be a really good fight to set up in the future. You know, just like, you know, it main event's a fight night and you get to see who the better man is, and then all of a sudden Zach Parker could see himself up here because he's too good. His footwork is exceptional. It's too good not to watch on the main events, on the main cards that come out with Riyadh season, or whenever Eddie and Frank or, you know, Ben or GBN decide to put on a massive show. So yeah, again, what do you think of Zach Parker? Let me know in the comments. However, the 9th, really cagey start. Zach Parker, his top half was like moving just, but his bottom half was moving exceptional. So his footwork, was fantastic. I can't keep going on about it enough because it saved him in the fight. His feet were just saving him in the fight. It was almost like he had robotic legs and the top half had just gone to sleep because there weren't a lot coming back. He was looking for energy and he just kept grabbing, and it was just hold after hold after hold. And I was so frustrated with the fight itself. I was like, come on, just give us 2 good rounds. Ref tells off Zach Parker for holding too much. And I kept thinking, he's looking for the one shot, you know, now because he's really tired. But, you know, are you going to gamble? Are you going to, you know... Diallo, he had one defence, and that was that. You know, break it up, straight through the middle. Do what... You're a bot. Come on. Like, you've finished people. Not that many, but you've finished people before. You're 26-1. You've had one defeat in your whole career. You've had 18 knockouts. You know how to put people away. I was just frustrated. But, you know, at the end of the fight, I mean, BT again kept trying to, you know, talk up Anthony Yarde versus Zach Parker. But guys, that fight is not going to happen when Parker puts on performances like this. It's just not going to happen unless it's a warm-up fight. It's not going to be massive. It's not going to be huge. It was just frustrating to watch. Again, in the round, Diallo, massive, great right to finish. Unbelievable right. Zach Parker took it like an absolute G. And then the 10th, I mean, at this point, after the 9th, I had 7-2 on the cards. I'm pretty sure me and Richie at BT had the same sort of score. The 10th, Zach Parker, he's really not moving. He's just lunging, trying to grab, trying to hug. He falls on his knees again. You know, Diallo's not going to come at you and hit you with mint shots. So he was evading, but it never really truly looked that great. But it finished. He was on his knees about 4 times in this round, and I don't even want to talk about it because I have a bit of respect. I have a lot of respect for Zach Parker. I like what he's doing. I've watched him for a number of years now. So Diallo's clearly getting pissed off with him falling over all the time, and he's like, "Ref, I'm here to fight. Yeah, I'm only doing this and throwing the odd hook, but I'm here to fight," you know. And it weren't a great finish, and there weren't really much of a reaction in the crowd. Parker picks up the decision. 7-3 I give the last round to Diallo, mainly because Zach Parker was on the floor more than his feet. It was just a night to forget for Zach Parker. You know, he's young enough to come back. He's 30 years of age, so he's young enough to come back. He's easily got another 5 years in the sport. If we're going to take anything away from it, is he won't be happy with it, but he's done well to soldier through that. You know, he's done well to soldier through that fight, looking like the Yakuza. It was his tattoos, by the way, Zach Parker. Shout out to your tattooist, because they looked class.